Hello there. Welcome to Nerdist Book Club. I know this isn't a drink or a wine, but it's a nice hot cuppa that we've got here. My name's Maude Garrett, and I was 2 seconds late, as I just saw. Joining me always are my pals and co-host Rachel Heine right there. What kind of wine you got today? Yep.
Pinot Noir.
Pinot Noir. And Hector Navarro. Hector, what you got?
This is also a Pinot, I think. I'm not sure. It's red.
No, you don't. Anyway, hello to everyone joining at home. A big welcome to you. Book club here at Nerdist is exactly what it sounds like. We house an amazing online book club with an even more kick-ass community happening. It's super interactive. We love hearing what you have to say about it. We tell you the book, you read it, we discuss it. Well, we read it as well. We are currently 3 weeks into Patrick Rothfuss's The Name of the Wind.
Sorry, that's my fault. That's my fault.
4th week. This is part 4, and it says that in the video title. I'm Ron Berg.
At least included the homework this
time. And I mean everything.
This is one of my favorite books of all time, so I'm absolutely thrilled that we're spending 6 weeks on this thick boy. So we are 4 weeks into it. If you're just joining us, though, you can catch up on all the previous episodes right here on the Nerdist channel, which is really cool. We're going to just completely dive into this chunk, full-blown discussion. There's some questions to guide, but we're going to be reading out a bunch of comments while we talk about, firstly, this portion of the book. Rach, what do you think of it? Hector, how you feeling?
I am at a point where I'm pretty sure I'm not going to like this book. I think I'm at that point.
We're more than halfway through, so you know.
Yes. I am very impressed with a lot of the style. I think that the writing is really, really good, and it's really well thought out and really well planned. The world building is really well planned, but it's just something that I had been having a tough time connecting with. So I have shifted. There's a new plan tonight. The plan is I am
new sheriff in town.
Yeah. What's that? There's a new sheriff in town. The plan for Hector tonight is, I don't know why I'm talking the third person as much as I do, is for me to ask you, Maude and Rachel, and especially the chat, what is it about this book that you love from this section or just overall? Like, I really would like to know why people have connected to it the way that they have. I know, Maude, you have said every week that it's your favorite book of all time.
Yeah.
You know, and I have that in the back of my head every time I read a section or listen to a section, and I'm just like, man, I wish I could connect to it. Me, one of my best friends, Maude, it's her favorite thing ever. So that's how I want to sort of.
You think I'm your one of your best friends?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, of course. Of course, Maude, and Rachel as well. So
I was like,
Rachel too. It's one of those elementary school things where your best friend walks up and you're like, hey, best friend. And also you're here too.
No,
you're my first best friend, but you're my second best friend.
Or like when you would kiss all of your stuffed animals goodnight when you were a kid, and then you'd give an extra kiss to like your 3 favorites, and then you'd feel bad. So then you'd have to do it all over again.
That is some real OCD Rachel as a child stuff right there. I love it.
Like, it's more like emotional something than OCD.
Well, I mean, I think we've spoken about this as well.
Inherent childhood guilt.
I never had stuffed animals. I just didn't have any. So what does that say?
That is weird. What did you have like?
It says I like this kind of book.
I guess
well, yeah,
so.
And Hector, I love that's a very Hector and book club generally speaking attitude to, you know, it's okay if someone doesn't like something, and the fact that you want to know why other people are responding to it and kind of dig into that is just lovely. Yeah. So
oh, thank you so much. Here's some great comments from the chat too. Antonio Vargas said, I missed this. I missed y'all's last week due to work. And then Antonio also said, I am enjoying this book. Sorry to hear that, Hector. And Game Wizard said, Hector, good save, Hector, good save. So yeah, that's just my attitude. I mean, like when I'm reading it, even if I am reading or watching something or listening to something that is not my favorite, I will always try, as a creative person and as somebody who just needs storytelling so much, to at least figure out why it's not clicking for me, as I'm thinking about why it does this click for other people. And I feel like I've mostly figured out why it doesn't click for me, mostly, but
protagonist.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I mean,
I've
what it comes down to.
I love that you don't like the character, because now when I'm listening to it, I want to learn more about why I do like him. And I found myself exploring the fact that, yes, he's gifted. Yes, he's brilliant. The way that he can navigate out of trouble, the way that he can kind of like use and call upon so many different forms of like knowledge and experience to be able to just so cleverly like rule. I admire him so much. I think that sort of brilliance and that oh my
It's very
gosh,
interesting. That's very interesting.
I admire it. I am so impressed by it. I like, I don't know what that means, but
No, I think I would guess that competence and like all of intelligence and cleverness and all of those different pieces are impressive traits. So I don't there's no like you're right for this and you're wrong. And there's a lot of really great responses in the chat about why people are responding so well to if you are enjoying the book. Clever Girl is impressed with the world building and how much he knows music. Zismarith, for me, world building, locales, and environments, also the growth of the main character. S. Marcy connects to a lot of the struggles of Kvothe as a musician and tinkerer of sorts. I'm hearing and good lore. Rachel Beaver says the storytelling is so complex. So it sounds like a lot of it is the lore, world building, and also I'm very interested by all of the responses about Kvothe as a musician and the writing about music, because that didn't really occur to me. Even though I played piano for a long time, I would not call myself a musician. I quit when I was a teenager.
I got kicked out of the class, not once, but twice, 2 separate times.
What'd you do?
I don't know, I was 5, and I still remember one of the songs. It was about a chunky little bear, and I was like, I love this, but like, I don't know, maybe
bored.
Yeah.
What was the instrument?
Piano.
Yeah,
Piano.
Cool.
Piano classes. I went to piano classes, and they were like, "We can't teach your daughter." I was like, "Maude," and I'm like,
I was in all the sort of like, I did like recitals and stuff, and then I got to a certain point where I was like, I don't want anyone to look at me ever again. I'm not doing any of this. I was like 14.
Wow.
I moved into percussion at 9, and hitting stuff at particular times was really good for me.
Very different kids.
Yeah.
But I feel like you guys would still make up a good band, like in School of Rock. Like I feel like we would need one of each of you.
I really still want to be in a band. I don't know what I would do in it, but I would really like to be in one. It's interesting. I do really like the world building. I'm always generally, I love, as we've talked about, a good lore, good world building. I want things to like make sense, which so far everything does. And I love that, but I would say I'm more character driven than I am like if it has both. Pizza chef, but
he's also a magician with his words.
Oh yeah, no, and I'm actually Kvothe in this section. I actually like. I don't dislike him. As I said last week, I feel like I'd give him a lot of shit if we were friends in high school or whatever, or early college. But I think that I like him a lot in this section because he's such a dope about girls. And I found that really relatable. and especially for this like precocious, like wise ass dude. And then he's around a girl and he's like, who is giving him some of the clearest signals a girl could give you at a certain point. And it's just like, oh, you sweet summer child.
Yeah.
Can't do it. And he's starting to see some of his overconfidence and glibness lead to some trouble for him. And I don't wish trouble upon him, but I do think it's important for him to experience some of this stuff to learn, like, it's very different. Like, yes, you could obviously get killed on the streets, but it's very different to mess with a bully in an entirely different world. And the consequences of that, or the consequences of, getting kicked out of the archives and not listening to someone, your friend who's been in school for like longer than you've been alive, all of that kind of stuff, where he's noticing it, but it's not changing his behavior.
Well,
yet.
I mean, in a way, it's quite interesting. Like, yes, he's super brilliant and he's smart and he picks things up really fast, but we're really learning his flaws and we're learning them faster than he's learning them. So the fact that he's terrible with women, in this instance, he actually really admits it, and he can say it quite aptly, where he's like, I know nothing about women. But before that, where it's like, any sort of mistake that he'd made earlier, he's just not learning about patience. He's not learning to take his time. And I really like what the cartographer said. Kvothe is a real 10 steps forward and then trips badly and falls on his face and then crawls 2 steps back kind of character, which feels relatable. And I love that. But the difference is, now that he's in school, he has to do something that has never applied to him really. And that's follow structure, rules, and order. So when he was on the streets, there were no rules except stay alive. And now he's realizing, like, that's what fear was. Like, he lived by fear, and he feels confident now because that doesn't apply. Yet he runs into someone like Ambrose, who has now found the consequence of someone who has money, influence, and status. And so, like,
on another level, though, on a level he's and not only
the tavern, like, bought the inn.
That is some petty bullshit. I was like, oh, I already obviously don't like him. He's a creep and gross and terrible. But I was like, that is some psycho level
he's dangerous.
Sabotage. Oh, he's super dangerous. But he also grew up, I think part of what, I don't mean this to sound bitter or anything, but he had a really like loving, encouraging childhood where he was able to explore a lot of different things, and his curiosity and his talent were all really nurtured. Yeah, I was going to say nourished. Thank you for saying that, because I was going to say the wrong word. Although he was nourished because he had enough food to eat. But he has this sort of inherent, like, he has something to build on. Even though he's been through all of these terrible things, he has this sort of like goodness and security that he had, that, even just thinking about, like you do, developmental psychology in the brain, like when you're little especially, is when those things are super important to your confidence level and all of those things. And I feel like not only did he not have structure on the streets, he didn't have really the kind of structure that a lot of other kids had, because of the way he was raised and how he traveled all over the place and learned all of these adult themes and plays, and was just exposed to a lot. And now he's being told, yes, you're faster at picking things up than everyone. Yes, you're very smart. Yes, you're very good at all these things, but you can't just skip over, pay your dues, do all the things, blah, blah, blah. And he seems to me like at least he's not just saying like F school the way that a lot of I think gifted or weird or precocious kids who are like bored at school, they'll be, oh, guess I won't do any homework. And then
salute twice. Did you just sneeze twice, Maude?
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yes,
I got you.
I'm muted though. No one needs to hear that.
Nope. Great.
I bet it's cute.
Different every time.
Yeah, some other great comments in the chat. I do really appreciate everybody chiming in with like what it is that they love about this story. Tim and Daisy said, on my second reading, I don't really like Kvothe most of the time, which I think is really interesting. Persephone said, we were most of us idiots when we were 15. Yes, of course. So I'm sure that that's another really relatable aspect of the story. Miss Necromancer said, something I'm wondering is how much truth and how much is truth and how much is Kvothe just trusting his own genius about reading people, that he wouldn't just leave Ambrose alone.
Yeah, I love that. I love that train of thought, because this is his version of events. And he's like, I've got a good read on people. I can do this. I can do that.
Yeah.
But I also will not walk away from this fight.
Yeah. And there's also another great kind of conversation about, again, he's 15 too. So I don't know about y'all. I was very insufferable at 15. In different ways, but definitely, future me would go back and be like, what are you doing? But a question of, if Kvothe is is a bully or not. And there's, you know, people who agree on either side. I don't get I mean, we are hearing it from his perspective, so grain of salt, but I don't think he's a bully so much as he is the type of person who, when he is bullied, he has to, you know, match that or at least fight back. Whereas like, I feel like I'm a sim. I can't say simp. I'm not a youth. I'm in my 30s, but I love Sim and like him being like, just like leave him alone and maybe he'll leave you alone. I don't know if that's true, but you know, when I was a teenager, I would have absolutely been like, I'm just not, or I would have been a little more sneaky about it.
This is why I can relate to both. We're regulators. We do not stand for bad behavior. And if someone's going to be like that, and if you see time and time again, and the evidence is there that they are not a decent person and they will not stop, and you could be the cure, you do what it takes to stop that cycle. He was inappropriate with Fella. He ripped him off a lot of money and humiliated him and got him banned from the archives.
Yep.
This is like, and I think there was like a third strike. This is like a 3 strikes and you're out kind of thing.
No, it's he's terrible.
Yeah.
I just, at 15, I agree with you. And I feel like I would do that now, but at 15, I would have been like, if I don't look at him, he won't bother me. Or, you know, I used to pretend to be a witch to scare all the girls who bullied me in Catholic school. So like, it wasn't really a direct thing. I just would like whisper stuff under my breath.
Pretend? What are you talking about? Pretend? You mean you practiced? You're a practicing witch.
What do you mean?
I mean, I don't know.
I straight up pushed
Rachel.
Not Darth Vader.
That's witchcraft. Allie says, Pen 15 vibes. Allie, what is that referencing? I don't know what that's referencing.
It's the best show ever.
Okay,
yes,
right.
Exactly. Everyone should, it is like the most our age group show about being nostalgia, like a preteen, but but also the most awkward. Like, it's not the fun kids in the 2000s, like My Life Was Great in the 2000s. It is the most awkward. And yes, the Wicca episode of Pen 15, I've immediately texted a handful of my friends and was like, I've never felt so seen in my whole life.
I love that.
Yeah. All right. Should we move on to another topic of conversation here? What else do you guys want to talk about? What else you want to jump into?
I want to talk about Denna.
Okay. Let's talk about Denna.
So the first time I read it, I felt no issue with her whatsoever. I thought I think she's amazing. I think she's fantastic. I think, you know, the description that was said about her was basically talking about trying to hold water, you know, that she's a fire, but she's that sort of fire that just sparks and you can't catch it. I get that. I love that she's an enigma. I love that he knows everything, but he doesn't know her. And he could have, but like this, it just keeps sort of like ships passing in the night almost as well. But then I remember reading a lot of hate about Denna/Diane/Dinner. Yes. I understand. How come? And
where was the hate coming from?
Aha. I'm glad you asked. I even spoke to my
Not that I have preconceived notions in my head, just kind of curious.
Basically, if I could just sieve it all down and just get to the very bottom line of this, and gentlemen in the chat, I would love to hear your thoughts. And maybe this is still too soon to have this conversation. And I'm wondering if I should even plant the seed. But do you think that she's a tease?
Oh, when I read this section, I immediately thought that would be an interpretation of it from certain.
Because Denna is she's like talking to and maybe flirting with other characters. Who is it that she's interacting with and stuff? Who is it that Quoth sees or hears about or whatever? Remind me of what happens. Who does she talk?
So first of all, the first time that we see her again after going on that trip, you know, the traveling together.
Right.
You know, she appears at the Aeolian as the secondary singer for this grand song that he's performing, and she steps up and performs, and then realizes A, it's her, and B, she's there with Savoy, his friend.
Right.
So he's kind of like dating her, and then the second time we see that she's got male company, it's the co-owner of the Aeolian, which is what's his name? He's got a bit of a French accent in the book. Starts with a D. Come on.
Oh, like Dale reminded me of Kale, but it was not quite.
But yeah, a much older man, and he's the one who gives Quoth the description of Denna, being like, you know, I see that look, I know what you're thinking, but dude, don't. Dayoch. Yeah.
Dayoch. Okay.
Dayoch.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe I'm also getting it confused with, I'm watching that new Superman and Lois show, and that's a lot of teen drama because Superman and Lois Lane have 2 teenage sons in that TV show.
Really?
And there's a teenage girl character, and it's very cliche high school drama where like one of the boys like is crushing on her and kind of likes her and tries to make a move, but then doesn't realize that she has a boyfriend. And of course the boyfriend is like this bully, like jock type, football player character. And then that guy is such a dick. And it's like the girl will walk up and see the character on the show and be like, hi, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. Let's talk a little bit. And then as soon as the boyfriend shows up, he's like, let's go, babe. And then she kind of turns around. She's like, sorry, I'm sorry. And anytime I see that character, I'm like, if you write a character to where she's with or he's with a terrible person and they have to constantly apologize for that person, then that they should break up. That's a really bad. And I don't think that that's what's happening in this situation. I don't think that they're setting up Denna to be like exclusive with somebody else or dating somebody else. And the entire time, Quoth is talking about how he doesn't feel that way about her, even though he does. But he keeps telling everybody, no, it's not like that. I just wanted to see her and thank her for the song and maybe reconnect with her and then maybe we could perform again. No, that's not what it is. It's not what it is. And all the other adult males, it seems like in the story, they can read into it. They go, no, you like her. That's what that is. So I don't see it so much as that she's a flirt or a tease or that she's like with somebody else or something. I see it as like, it's just kind of like they start as friends and I don't know. That's kind of how I see it. I guess. I don't know. How do you guys see it?
Well, I just want to chime in on the apologizing for the jerk person and just say that it's very hard when you're hypothetically, if you've ever had to apologize for someone you're dating who's not very nice, that it's so hard when you're in it, especially, I mean, teenagers, like
when you're in it, I know.
Well, and so it is this like, in retrospect, hopefully when you get out of stuff like that, you're like, God, how embarrassing that I just tolerated this shit and that didn't blah, blah, blah. But I got the vibe that they're both very smart. They have really good banter. She's clearly more worldly than him and sad about stuff. I get the vibe that she has been through her own shit and it's going to be very different for a young girl in this world to go through shit than a guy. Yeah, on your own. We don't know, much about her past. And I get the vibe that she's trying to get him. She's playing with him because he's playful. They banter, they talk, they're doing all this stuff. I get the vibe that she likes him. She's trying to give him some signals. Does that mean she wants to marry him or that he's her boyfriend? No. Does that mean that any of the other guys who are mostly just talking to her or like have their arm around her and stuff?
Yeah.
In the chat, I'm seeing some really good and interesting terms and descriptions of her. Some folks are saying they think that she's a little bit of a tease or she's a manic pixie dream girl. I don't think I could see that being the case. I don't think we're there yet, but it could be once I read more. I'm not getting that vibe right now. I'm just getting that it's not from her perspective. And he's this like very infatuated 15-year-old boy who's just like, she was like stepping onto the ice, but it wasn't me stepping on the ice. I was the ice. Like he's so but I think, I agree with everyone that like I saw a really good one from Miss Necromancer. Where did that go? She was basically like, a woman is like comfortable with her own sexuality. Like, and that's sort of what I thought when I read about her and the like warning that he gets and how she's like, flitting in and out. And it's like, I think she's a survivor. And I think that she maybe likes to flirt, and get it, girl. Like,
Yeah.
fine.
So
Is she
when we
is
talk
she
about-
supposed to be the same age as Kvothe, or how old is
She's
she?
A
like
little
a year or
older.
two older,
Yeah.
Okay.
but she's still pretty young. And S. Marcy says this world clearly isn't favorable to ladies. Yeah. So to me, it seems like she's doing whatever she has to survive.
Yes.
And Tim and Daisy, if Denna was a man, there would be no judgment.
So
Excellent.
the whole
Excellent point.
Denna thing as well, like what's been introduced to this world is the idea of patronage. So if you are good at something, and that can be singing, an instrument, company, you can get paid for it. And that's what she's basically specializing in. She realizes she's got a beautiful look, she's good company, and that's lucrative for her. And so this really does come down to the bottom line of survival. We know that we meet her, she's on the road. She doesn't know where she's going. She hasn't got a destination, but she's still got a good attitude. So yeah, that kind of like says everything we need to know. She's got a very strange past. We're not aware of it. She's very enigmatic. I want that to be a word. But she provides this enigma that he's just the fact that it's even called
a word.
Enigmatic. Great.
Yes.
I've never said it before. It's felt really good.
Yep, that's a word.
But the fact that the book is called The Name of the Wind, and she's like the wind.
Right.
She never settles. She's never at the one place. She's constantly coming and going, and he can't grab her.
And he wants to
Can't hold the wind.
Yeah. And
is she the name of the wind? Is she the wind in this book?
Well, can we talk about her name though? Because I feel like we do not know her actual name yet. Yeah. Don't Maude hide your face. Oh, I thought you were hiding your face. Because the fact that we already know 3 different names that she goes by, I feel like there's more to that than meets the eye. I also have not given up on my theory that maybe she's inside that locked box. Or her soul, or her name, or something, or she transforms into something. Look, I don't know.
I think so.
Ty says it the best with this whole wind analogy. Her name keeps changing, so he can't name her either.
Oh, I did not like one of those names. I think Denna. What was?
But it's also Denna resin. So Denna resin is
Denna resin is the full name. No,
Denna resin is that highly addictive, like a substance that makes your teeth really, really white. But they had that backstory about it, and that's called Denna resin, if I'm not mistaken. I've only been listening to it, so I don't know if it's spelt differently. Maybe someone in the chat can help me with that. But I thought that was super interesting. But like this highly addictive substance that it's basically like a heroin kind of deal, but it's something that you can kind of like suck on.
Oh no, the side effect is your teeth is real white. Oh no, that sucks.
Yeah. Oh, Denna and Denna. Got it. My bad. That's still very close.
Denna resin. Here's what I'm going to say about Denna is that the name Diane, that was one of her names, right?
Yep.
Instantly took me out of the story.
But there's Diana from mythology.
Yes, right. But
maybe it's Diana, maybe it's spelled that way, but it's like Diana.
It's just, I think of Diane as just like a normal woman's name in our world. So when all the names, it is, because when all of the names in this story are like, my name is Kvothe, my name is Ararthanen, my name is Cathalinarv, my name is Diane.
Simon.
And that's Carol.
Simon.
There's Susan over there. And then there's Carl, he's back there, but my name is Calarthanen. Like, I just feel like, okay, Diane, I would have reworked it to be something else. It just felt see, Nathan S says, it's a mom name. It's like if it
were Diana, would that be any different for you?
Maybe, but even then, I feel like it would just be, I think that might work just because of that mythological connection, truly, because I feel like there's a difference between Diana and Diane for some reason. It's just one letter, but there's a whole world of difference.
But isn't it with 2 N's too? I don't know. It didn't bother me, but I will say also someone just said something in the chat that I thought was really great. Polo. Don't we also get a subtle disclaimer from Bast that Kvothe sees her without flaws in this? We aren't really getting the full picture of her character.
And straight away, he's like, her nose has got a kink in it. Her face isn't great.
That one hit me
at all.
Deep in my core. Just the bump in the nose comment. I was like, what's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with that. All beautiful people have it. There's nothing wrong with that.
Got one too.
Nothing wrong with it. Exactly. So yeah, fantasy names are a weird hiccup, says Nathan S.
Well, I want to ask you guys to, y'all, sorry, gendered language, y'all folks about that part of the book when Kvothe gets very weird about the chronicler writing down, you know, his off the cuff thoughts about her. And also, I get the vibe already. I know that was like, I was like,
Brutal.
oh.
And we kind of have established that the chronicler has his system and his way. You do not mess with that. As Kvothe was like trying to just, you know, put the terms into words, and his chronicler's writing everything that he's saying, like train of thought, and the way that he's just controlled that situation. Yeah, he's super intimidating. But wants the part about Denna to be perfect.
Yeah, but I do get the vibe, because there's a quote too in that section where Bast says, like, all of the women in your story are so beautiful. And so I also think that, I mean, there is the level of, is it about the fact that he is telling a legend, and that's like a whole part of the, but I also get the vibe, and I think I said this last week, that he puts women, for whatever reason, seems to put them up on a pedestal and idealize them, just based on even his smaller interactions with women, girls so far in the book. And I wonder if he's kind of also, because it is from his perspective so far, if he is projecting some of, like, he's an unreliable narrator. I mean, he could be telling mostly the truth, but because he's telling the story, we can't know for sure. I wonder if he's projecting, or if, you know, projecting sort of rose-colored glasses onto her, and what that might mean about her later on.
I'm going to do a little exercise to sort of disprove this in a way. Hector, do you think Rachel's beautiful?
Yeah,
Do you think I'm beautiful?
Yes.
Boom. Do you have a healthy relationship with women and don't put them on pedestals?
I think I do.
I don't know.
I hope so. Shit, I don't know. I hope so.
You don't strike me as
they're beautiful because women are beautiful.
That's true. Except for mean women are terrible people. Mean people are ugly.
inner beauty for sure.
That's right.
But it's just, I don't know, but when I was reading her, and I really like her, like, I think that she's really cool. I like her whole band, like that. She's the kind of like mysterious, which is why probably some people are wondering if she's a manic pixie dream girl. But I feel like, because we're getting it from the point of view of, you know, a 15-year-old boy, or a man thinking about the woman he loved when he was 15, I don't think you can separate that, like, infatuation and crush from the manic pixie dream girl sort of project, because that's where that comes from almost, is like that projection.
Yeah,
but
I guess so.
Me, I just want to know more about her, because there are moments where she says, like, you think too highly of me, and she seems super sad, and I was like, I want to know what's going on with this cool
she's
girl.
she's not the female character that one of the stories in this world is the protagonist of, correct? It's not Denna that has her own story.
No,
I don't know if I want to know.
Okay, it's another character. It's not.
No, exactly.
So that's very interesting.
Well, what do you mean?
Well, because there's 2 books, and then there's like a short story that's has a female protagonist.
Yes.
In the world of The Name of the Wind.
Got it.
Well, my question about that stuff is,
you may have met her.
Okay.
Demi? Is that her name?
I mean, Maud's right. We may have met her.
A lot of D lady names. I like her too, and I like that he can't tell if she's flirting with him either. And
maybe that's why we got Diane, is because Patrick Rothfuss ran out of other nice D names. It was like
I don't know.
Diane.
There's plenty of those. I also want to know, like, what does this 15-year-old dude look like? Because he's got some, you know, like 19-year-old ladies like being like, hey, you can come here if you want to.
Or so he says. My question about the putting women on, what's the character's name, Maud?
Ori.
Oh, the ghost. Well, ghost, but I really like her.
She's got her own. She's a bit. I didn't know, like, my first introduction of her is like, we must protect her at all costs because I don't think she's all there, but there's like a sweet innocence, but like.
Well, we don't know too much about her yet.
Just that she leaves out food for him.
Yeah. And that she's kind of a little, you know, she lives somewhere in the under something. Yeah. To me, the first vibe I got, and her referencing Elodin. Why do I keep doing this?
Elodin.
My thought was that maybe she escaped from the asylum where all of these very talented arcanists have ended up, and maybe she's
it's possible,
like flitting around and listening to him practice. And I liked her a lot.
Ori, yeah. Going back to the way that Kvothe is describing Denna and all women and putting them on a pedestal, is that a positive trait or a negative trait that he's doing this in
I don't know that he's doing it. I'm just
thinking you're posing it as a question.
It's possible that that's happening because he's an unreliable narrator, because he's clearly, and he's 15, he's got a huge crush, and this like older, you know, muscly dude who knows her tries to kind of warn him. He's like, I'm fine, I'm so smart, I can handle anything, you know. He feels impervious. Youths. But when did I get so old? But it's more, I do think that that's a troublesome quality. It doesn't mean that anyone is bad. I've done it. I've definitely thought that someone is better than they are. But I don't think it's a negative trait. I think it's just something as you mature, you hopefully, you know, realize that that is a pattern you may fall into, and really like take your time and make sure that you're actually, you know, getting to know someone and not just thinking of them a certain way.
I hope the story's mostly true, because I'm going to be real pissed if it ends up not being true. If the entire thing is just him spinning a yarn, I'm going to kind of feel like, oh, okay,
this all happened.
Yeah. What was the point of that, man? I want to talk a little bit about the Kvothe being an awkward 15-year-old, because that's another thing that I struggled with, partly because I am in my 30s, and anytime I see any story that deals with teenagers and how they're written and how they interact with one another, I'll either connect to it and think, yep, that's spot on and I can relate to that, or I'll go, this doesn't feel genuine, or I can't relate to it. I think the thing about Kvothe too that's tough for me is that I feel as though my strength, if I have any in this world, is probably just people. It's probably being able to understand and talk to people and empathize with people and care about people and put myself across in a way where people can understand me. So whenever there are characters that are like, this character is so good at this, the greatest in the world at this, but they don't understand women, I always kind of feel like, really? It's tough for me to relate to that, but I understand that is how some people certainly feel, is that, and I'm not saying I understand women or people to the fullest. I'm just saying, out of all of the things on earth, I would understand music or special naming magic or everything else he's good at less than I would understand people and getting able to talk to women. And I understand too that he is also somebody who is like traumatized and lived on the streets for 3 years and everything. But when you tell me that he and his mother and father were so smart, so charismatic, so good at being able to talk to people and
and also very much in love and showing their affections outwardly,
that I would think that Kvothe would be a little, I don't know, but maybe it is because he's 15, and any story where it's a young person first encountering love, they're gonna seem like an idiot until they kind of get it. But then again, how often are stories realistic where it's like, oh, that was my first love, I liked them for a while, it didn't work out, and then here's my second love, I liked them for a while, it didn't work out, and here's my third. Stories always have to put the most emphasis on that first love, as like it's the true love, the love that got away. They put so much importance on that first crush or love, and I feel like that is going to make Kvothe seem dumb to me, because I'm like, dude, you're 15 and you're a genius at literally everything. You spent an entire half a page talking about how you picked the thing up better than any other human ever born. Just talk to her like she's a person, man. Like, just treat her like, don't be so dumbfounded by her looks. Just treat her like a person, be able to talk to her the way you talk to and outsmart everybody else. But again, I am aware that all of the elements are all coming into play. He's bullshitting. He's telling a story. He's putting her on a pedestal. It's his first love. It's the one relatable aspect so far of Quoth is like, he's really good at everything, but he can't understand girls. So it all needs to be there. And I guess I'm just saying some of it didn't work for me, I guess. How do you guys feel about it?
I mean, I've been thinking about something again. I love your perspective on this because I will not only listen to it, but I'll challenge me and why I feel this way. But I also have questions for you.
Yeah.
This is not a dig at all. But
hit me.
Why is it that you have such a relatable affinity with 15-year-olds who are average and then gain superpowers, but you are almost disgruntled by someone who has that skill set from the get-go?
That's a good question.
That's an excellent question. That is an excellent question. I was thinking about it too, because I was thinking about if there's a character that I love, and superheroes is my realm, that is the closest to Quoth, who is it? And I was like, maybe it's Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four. Reed Richards is the smartest brain ever, the smartest man on the planet. Maybe now would be challenged by a character like Shuri. Maybe now especially would be challenged by a character like T'Challa. Black Panther is a really smart guy. Or maybe even, but the thing even about Tony Stark is that Tony Stark's specialty is like technology. That's right. Tony Stark. Bruce Banner, the Hulk's specialty is biology. You know, he knows gamma radiation. He knows the human body. He knows that stuff. Spider-Man is a little bit of a jack of all trades. He's a real smart, he's a genius character, but like he doesn't have a specialty like that. Reed Richards' specialty is kind of like everything. It's kind of the universe. It's kind of like he knows how to go into another dimension. He knows everything about the human body. He knows everything about science. And I was thinking, why can't I relate to that character? Why do I like that character? And I know it's different than a 15-year-old who gets bitten by a spider and then, but I think for Spider-Man, I think the reason I really like it is because to me, it works as a metaphor for coming into your own as a young person. It works as a metaphor for you don't have all the skills or knowledge or wisdom yet. And then something happens to you that gives you confidence and then brings you out of your shell a little bit. And then that's you being the best version of yourself in a way. So, but back to Reed Richards for a second. Why do I like Reed Richards? Because at least they write him to be a loving father and husband to his wife, even though he messes up all the time because of his genius. He'll get so distracted in the lab that like 4 days will go by and he won't, you know, and he will like not even check in with his wife for 4 days straight because he's so into his head about doing something. But as soon as he pulls out, he realizes his mistake and he's like, Susan, I'm so sorry. I honest to God, lost track of time. Like, what's that?
Does he keep doing it though?
Yes and no. And he keeps, I mean, but that's the thing. He keeps messing up, but his character is that he continues to make efforts and attempts for like his relationships and stuff with his friends and his wife and his kids. He tries to be a dad there. And so I think that whenever they try to write that character as being like, well, he doesn't understand his wife. I think that when he pulls out of it, he at least does understand her, but there's like challenges in their relationship that are metaphors for people in the real world where like if people are workaholics or they work too hard or whatever, like those challenges I can kind of relate to, even though it's even though he is the greatest genius of all time. I don't think it's silly that I'm like, dude, check in on your wife. I don't think it's silly with some of the stories I've written where I'm like, okay, he's not checking in on his wife or he made this mistake and I can see why he did it. And now his heart is going to help him, not his brain, not him solving something, but like his heart is going to help him make up for that. So I think you're right, Maude. I think it might be that I think I like the way you put it, where like Quoth has some of those skills kind of from the get, and now he's coming into a high school scenario. And it is sort of like the opposite Harry Potter, right? It is sort of like he's not even the character who's necessarily learning stuff that we're learning with him. He's just kind of explaining stuff to us for, you know, some things as we go along. Yeah, because he already knows it. So he's like telling us, or the chronicler, this is how money works. This is how this loan works. This is how this works. This is how this works. This is how this works. Anyway, I don't understand women, but everything else in the world, I get it.
Yeah, I think, well, there's a really interesting conversation happening in the chat that can be summed up by Miss Necromancer, Nerdist Book Club Therapy Hour, which honestly should be the subtitle to all of our episodes because we end up getting deep. But there is a conversation happening in the chat about the fact that he does have PTSD, that it is experiencing a trauma at the age of 12 like that, and then it's just, I mean, not to get super technical, but there's and also I'm not equipped to diagnose fictional characters, but PTSD, just on a very general level, arises from a specific traumatic event. And then there's this new theory and research, etc. Not a scientist, about complex PTSD, which is trauma sustained over long periods of time. And I read an article recently that was like, a lot of people are going to come out of COVID with complex PTSD because it is something that has been going on for a long period of time. And so I think not only does he have this big traumatic, horrible thing happen to him, but it continues for years while he is developing. He also didn't really grow up with other kids and girls.
I was trying to think, does he mention anyone else in the troop that's a woman?
No kids either, I don't think.
He's the only kid.
Yeah.
And so there's that. And then he is, as people are saying in the chat, basically feral for 3 years. And when you're 12 to 15 is like, I will just say, not that I was great at everything the way Kvothe was at all, but I was in an all-girls school from age 11 to halfway through 15, and I could barely look at boys when I got to my second high school. It filled me with dread and anxiety. Everyone had beards. I didn't understand, and I did not know how to talk. And I ended up just befriending a bunch of very nice nerds boys. Shout out Alex Kessler. But I can, for me, that makes total sense that he's good at all of these things, but he doesn't understand people. He doesn't seem to really, he knows how to trick them when it comes to certain things, but I don't feel like he has the emotional intelligence or maturity that it takes to understand when a girl is like broadcasting a neon sign saying, steal me away, kiss me. Or the fact that he's getting into all of this, like into a full war with Ambrose. He doesn't pick that up either, because he's like, well, he's rich, whatever. And everyone's warning him, and he doesn't have the
he doesn't know what the consequence of a rich person is.
Of a real world in this case is not the life of a Rue. It's not a life on the streets. It's not, being this like very precocious, talented kid traveling around the realm. I don't know what they call it, but he doesn't understand how the real world and real people work, and real people. That's my 2 cents. Obviously, your perspective is super interesting, but that's just my take on it.
The chat earlier was talking about favorite character thus far. Some people saying Sim, some people saying Foth, some people saying Ori, even though she's only been in it. Ari in the audiobook, more of an Ari, that's my accent. Favorite character so far, especially Hector, since you don't like Foth. Who's your favorite?
It's probably, I like Sim. Sim seems to be the type of character that I would 100% respond to, but I kind of like Denna as well, because I want to I just want to get like a final word on that part of the story in a way. Like I want Kvothe to kind of hurry up and be like, okay, so what happens? Do you guys end up together? Is she in the box? What the hell happens? And I think that there's more to her character. I think there's more to her character, and also just to get more perspective from a type of character in this world, like the chat has pointed out. Like, this world seems to be built not friendly to women. So I'm like, okay, all right, if that's the world we're living in, tell me more about the why and the
except the part of the town or the world where the woman calls the shots, and that's why the men always travel with their wives, because the wives are the one who cut the deals, who take the money and like exchange all that. I really liked that part in there as well. It was unnecessary, but it also showed the different dynamics in relationships and gender through in different parts of the world.
And looking at, Denna, we don't know exactly what's going on with her yet, but she does clearly have the upper hand with a lot of these dudes. We've also got
Devi.
Yeah.
The
Mhm.
moneylender who
Really,
fucks with blood. Like,
yeah, I
what?
Yeah.
really like her.
Oh, I'll find you.
So
No, I'll be
far.
able to find you. Just need a little blood. I'll be able to find you. What? Excuse
And
me?
the fact that he was willing to like get beaten up, get flogged, get,
Yeah.
absolutely beaten to a pummel. And that was okay.
But that was scary.
But giving the blood, he was like absolutely like drained, colored from the face. I think that was great.
Just give her a little bit of your blood. Who cares? Just do it. Shut
Yeah.
up. Just do it.
I love Sim, and I feel like Sim's reaction to the song is like me deep in my soul.
He's
like,
a sweetheart.
Just full weeping. I love him. I kind of feel like he might be in love with Quoth. I just have to read this also. It's separate from characters, but I think this is such a smart comment. The cartographer. Quoth was also told that the reason for the murder of his family is that they were telling entirely the wrong stories, essentially telling him that communication is dangerous. So now he builds walls. Like,
whoa.
And it is this kind of thing where things that happen to you at a crucial age, even if it's just one thing or it's a whole lot of things, that can impact you for your whole life, even if you don't remember the specific thing somebody said. And so I that's just a brilliant line. But yeah, I really love Sim. I love
Sim's a sweetheart. He gets better too.
So cute.
Cool.
I love Denna. I love Demi, and who's the archives professor? Lauren?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lauren?
Yep.
Lauren? Yep.
I like him.
I love Kilvin.
I like Kilvin too. And
I lamp.
both
You
of
make
their
lamp. I sell them.
responses. Yeah.
So good. Hector, who are you liking? You said Denna.
Yeah, just because I want to know more about her perspective and that dynamic you mentioned earlier, Maude, of the women being the deal makers and stuff reminded me that there's a group like that in Star Trek. The Orions are like that. It's like a matriarchal society, but it's this weird. I think they did that to try to make up for the fact that in the 60s Star Trek TV show, the term Orion slave girl was used to describe a woman who had green skin, and she was doing like an exotic dance of like a foreign, kind of like a Middle Eastern belly dance thing. Sure. And so that's a real, ended up being a real gross sort of stereotype in all of sci-fi. So then years and years later, Star Trek people, makers of Star Trek shows were like, in actuality, the Orion slave girl was the one who was like in charge. And when you go to their culture, all of their men are mostly naked, and all the green men, and they're kind of the ones running the show, just to try to like flip that dynamic. And it's still a little clunky, but I at least appreciate like when a world like this has something like that in it, I go, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I do want to learn more about that. So
yeah. And I mean, even if you look at regular old history, there were a lot of matriarchal societies before, everything. No, I'm just kidding.
we haven't really, we've got only about 5 minutes left here, but we haven't really touched on, I know, the whole song and repercussions of the Jackass song that went around. The fact that Kvothe has gone up a stage in like his Aliyah, when he's now like the Rayla.
He passes his apprenticeship. In the chat too, folks are discussing, do we find out in the next few chapters with the gosh, I wrote it down too, the what's it called, the bone tar. Yes, bone tar. I was close. Okay. I would have never gotten tar from my brain, but I mean, I assumed that was Ambrose somehow sabotaging him, because he already somehow, snipped the string. Not that Kvothe doesn't make mistakes like that when he thinks that he's doing the right thing, but for me, that felt like every little thing that could go wrong did go wrong, and it felt too much for just a mere coincidence. So that's my theory. But we can talk more about that on Ye Old After Show.
Great. Set it up. What's our homework then for next week?
We're going to get stuck straight into it. All righty. We're going to read chapters 67 to 77. So just 10 solid chapters. Stop at 78 if you can. We've got 2 more weeks left of this as well. So
Yes, and then we are taking on probably our most ambitious read ever. We're going to do a whole young adult trilogy in 6 weeks, but they are really quick reads. And so starting Wednesday, March 24th, once we're wrapped up with Name of the Wind, we're going to be tackling Leah Bardugo's Shadow and Bone series. We're going to be spending 2 weeks on each book leading up to the first season of the Netflix adaptation of Shadow and Bone. If you want to learn more about the series, spoiler free, check out our primer on nerdist.com. I'm sure Lee will throw that in the chat. But we also want to get all of your questions and thoughts before the show so we can make sure that we hit all of the things that you guys are excited about, that you like, that you don't like, since we are going to be kind of splitting them up. But between some of the YA we've done in the past has felt like, okay, a month might be too much for this book, even though a lot happens in these. So we're gonna bang these out.
This is why we got the after show as well. So
I know nothing about the Shadow and Bone books. What is like the basic premise? What's like the elevator pitch for this YA series?
I will get back to you next week and instruct you to go to nerdist.com. Because we also need to shout out the after show. So to be continued.
Yes, the after show. This is where all the questions that you had burning right now, or anything that we didn't touch on that we want to chat about, we extend the after show to another half an hour, which Rachel and Hector and I all jump on to a Discord, and there's an audio call. So we're all in this chat together, and we have like structured questions. So you can get your question in and we can all have a chat about it. But this means that you kind of get a place and space to be able to talk about your feelings with the book and your opinions, and, you know, things that you want to pose as well to the group. The group's fantastic, really great clique of peeps that just love chatting books, and it's growing every week, which is super, super cool. If you want to get involved with that, you just have to sign up to a tier, any sort of tier for Geekbomb's Patreon, including the smallest one. It opens up all of the Discord for you, especially it's great if you're a geek and you love gaming and all that kind of stuff. Patreon.com/Geekbomb. Head over there. You'll get your Discord access straight away.
And we'll see y'all there, or we'll
be square.
Talk to you.
We'll see them there. You can post a GIF in there. You can post your name and chat. We can see that. So we'll see everybody.
Just saying, usually I immediately switch into like pajamas after this for the Discord, and like
I'm like
all of this gets thrown to the wolves. But yeah, and so finish your homework for next week. We will talk more about Shadow and Bone, obviously, a lot over the next couple of weeks. But thanks for joining us. We'll see you in the after show.
Bye.